Right, lovely. Yes, so this is really exciting. The new ERM within Koha, and I hope that you're familiar with electronic resources management as a term. So it's a way of tracking and managing your electronic content, and we're going to be looking at how this is going to work in Koha. And so I can remember as a systems librarian back in University of Leicester, way back when, going into the acquisitions and serials librarian office and seeing papers and files and documents everywhere and filing cabinet open and papers everywhere. And what was she doing? She was trying to work on putting all of this documentation about agreements and licenses and so on into a spreadsheet. And so things have moved on since then, but you know, historically this sort of information held in paper files and access databases. And then as things moved on, there are other systems in open source world, such as Coral and Cuffs, both of which we've trained on, sat alongside your library management system. But obviously a lack of integration with that. You know, you're doing recording stuff in multiple places. So it became increasingly obvious it would be fantastic to actually get an electronic resources system into Koha. So this has been a project sponsored by PTFS Europe and by Water Solutions and BibLibre. A lot of development originally by Jonathan Druart, who's very big in the development world for Koha. And increasingly more developers are getting on board with introducing and really enhancing the module. And I'll touch a little bit on that towards the very end. But the really exciting thing is that it sort of turns, it has the sort of ability to think of turning the Koha library management system into a proper library services platform. So it's quite a game changer in many ways for Koha. All libraries, many libraries have at least some electronic resources, and bringing in the ERM into Koha means that we'll be able to record that sort of data within Koha, and increasingly that means that we can tie in and look in for the future, future development, looking at bringing in acquisitions data into the system and putting everything in one place. So really exciting that it's been pushed and it is going to be in 22.11, so look out for your upgrades next year, because we will all be able to have the benefit of using the new ERM module. So just to sort of run through some of the core functionality right now. There is, we're going to look at agreements, so your related agreements. You've got something with JISC and then other related agreements for your JSTORs and so on, so we can record those agreements and agreement lines. We can record our licenses in the new ARM. And those licenses also have the capability to add PDF documents to them and other documentation as well. So recording everything all in one place. And then for electronic holdings, your resources, what electronic materials have you actually got? The integration at the moment in Koha is actually with the EBSCO EDS using the Holdings IQ API. So it's bi-directional, so you can actually be updating within Koha your electronic resources from the EBSCO knowledge base, marking what you actually hold, and that is in real time with the, you might as well be on the EBSCO admin. So Koha and the EBSCO admin, they're working together there, it's bi-directional. But there's also a local sources module, so you can record your own local packages, add titles to them, manually creating your e-holdings record. So that's currently in the system, as we will see. It's using also Vue.js, so it's a JavaScript framework. So that's quite exciting in itself, because it's a more modern technology, and it has some little funky look and feel. So I'll try and point some of that out when we have a little look in a minute. So it's really exciting, and the fact that it's in 2211 is going to be a real game changer. I think I'm going to skip over the terminology. I think we'll have all our slides available afterwards. But I suppose the core thing is, I mean, as we know, you can get titles from multiple packages, and you may have different coverages and so on. And so we're going to be looking at where those titles fit in to different packages and so on. I'll just skip. The main thing is let's take a look, because that's the exciting stuff. So do I just put this down, because I'm going to have to sit down? Yeah, okay. Can't do it standing up. Right, okay. Right, let's go for, this is the Libre sandbox, and it's really tiny on here. That sort of, so Martin gave you all a sneaky peek earlier on about the new staff client, and I've just been using this as a matter of course with the new ERM, and if I just pop back to the home page actually momentarily. We can see that we have a new block here, electronic resources management, e-resources management, capitalization or hyphened or lowercase or uppercase. You wouldn't believe the discussion apparently there was about how we should hyphenate, or to hyphenate or not to hyphenate. But anyway, this is what we've got. Whether it will slightly be different by the time of 2211, I don't know, probably. But I do like the way these go green. I think that's a really nice feature. So just a little bit of the admin first of all. If I just pop into the admin and just do a little search for ERM on the keyboard here. No, actually, we've got a little block here. That's much easier to do. It's really tiny. And so electronic resources management, you can see we've got a big master switch here, ERM module, enable it or disable it. So when you get 2211, this is what you're going to get. You're going to have the option just to enable this module in your system preferences. You'll notice there that there are some system preferences that allow you to integrate with EBSCO, for those of you who have EBSCO EDS and so on, and obviously you put in your customer ID, password, your API key, your customer ID, which is what you'd get from EBSCO. But of course, if you don't use EBSCO, you can just select just to use a local database holdings, package holdings, if you want to. And of course, for the future, more knowledge bases will become online. So there's a lot of work in the community for that. So we've got some system preferences. If I just have a look at what else is going to be available, if I just look for a staff user record, my user account here, we have a permission. So we've got a new manage the electronic resources module. At the moment, it's just one master permission. No doubt in time it will become more granular, the levels of what you might want or be able to do with the ERM. But there's a new system preference there, that you permission there that you would need to enable for staff who are going to manage the new ERM. Let's just pop to the home page. I also need to keep an eye on the time. So electronic resources management, this is our master switch. And as I sort of, if I just sort of switch, select different areas. So say, for example, I select agreements. I don't know if you can see, but it sort of makes it on the top here, it turns it highlights it. It's slightly in bold. It's much clearer on the screen there, but you're going to have that tracking so that you can know exactly which area of the ERM you're currently in. At the top level there, we've got a search box, so it allows you to search your agreements that have been added. You can search for packages, and that's your local holdings packages. Not if you're integrating within EBSCO, we'll be searching those package entries in this section here. And you can also search titles that might be added at that level too. If I just, starting with agreements, let's just work our way down what we're going to be seeing. Look under agreements, they're all listed here. Anything that you've got here in the usual fashion. We've got the name, vendor, and that vendor is tying in with your Koha vendors. If you're using acquisitions, you will add your agreements to particular vendors. I suppose the thing with agreements is what we're looking at here is what electronic subscriptions you can access, and you would add agreements for each of those. We've got some really nice filters as well along the top here, such as, for example, renewal priority. You could see at a glance what was coming up for renewal. Elements of this, of course, you will obviously be able to use reporting for. The headings that we've got along the top as well, like for status and so on, if I just clear that filter there, we've actually on the admin side got new authorized values that we can group together different or create our own values that make sense to us. So for example, closure reasons, authorized values, you would create, manage your own options here. Statuses again, all from authorized values. May have a quick look at those towards the end, but I probably won't have quite enough time. You never know. Let's have a look at, I'm going to have a look at in particular at, we've got one for journal archives here, which we're going to have a look at in full detail. Just before I move on to that, you can see you've got a button at the top here for new agreement, that you can add your new agreements here using this button. But let's just have a look at the journal archives one here. This is our agreement for Journal Archive. The vendor is JISC, so that's going back to your Koha vendor. So if I just click through into that, I'm now in the acquisitions module, and this is my my JISC vendor that is created in acquisitions. So obviously you can see the sort of prospect of how we're going to be able to tie in agreements with vendors, and ultimately what you're spending and costing related to your electronic packages going and agreements going forward. Just in this display view, you've descriptions, you've got those statuses again, your whether or not the agreement is perpetual or not, the renewal priority. And then you can record periods as well. So you might end up with a sort of full life cycle of the periods that you have had these agreements. So you could have a historical period that has subsequently expired. You could have a current period, and then you could have a future period that's upcoming. So you can record and track those agreements within here. Users of those agreements will tie in with those permissions that I pointed out earlier. And then we can have related agreements as well. And so these track back to another agreement that you'd already set up. So for this particular journal archives agreement, I've got a related agreement that again is a clickable link, as you can see. So you can go back to that agreement. For now it's showing me the JISC one and vice versa. So everything's sort of interlinking there. And finally, at the bottom here, we can see the packages. Got the JISC Journal Archives and Oxford Journal Archive and upgrade here listed. And that's the packages for this particular, that relate to this particular agreement. In terms of editing, again, these are quite tiny on this screen, but you've got a little pencil icon for modification and a bin for the delete. If I just click on the edit one there, standard sort of Koha display, all the editable fields. This is where we've got the little pull down list here that allows you to sort of select from existing vendors, the different statuses. You can see that closure reason is grayed out. I can't enter into that box at the moment, but if I use the little pull down here, and change that to a closed status, then my closure reason box obviously is now editable, and I can put in and reference back to my authorized values there for that closure reason. Actually, when I click on those little arrows, I had to ask Jonathan about this because I'm not a coder, but this is an example of this view.js, where you can see the little icon there. It just moves in a nice way. I think that's all I can describe it. It moves in a nice way. Yeah, Pedro's probably like tearing his hair out there. But anyway, so here we've got these time periods listed. You can add new time periods using the add new period option here. You could remove periods if they were no longer relevant or you didn't wish to record them. You've got blocks here for the users, all nice and tidied. In the sense of licenses as well, you can see you've got option here to add a new license, and that would obviously add a license as if I were creating a license in this area here. But if you don't want to use the licensing module, you could put all of your licensing information in this one area here. So you don't have to use the whole agreements and licenses. You could just reference licensing information here. But if you want to go whole hog and actually include licenses as well, you can add a new license at this point here, and that will add a license to our license section here that we'll have a little look at in a moment. Related agreements, so that would be other documents that relate to the agreement record, so maybe correspondence, that sort of thing, and we can just add or documents. You could add correspondence, I think, rather than the agreements, but you can create and add new documents here by selecting from a file. Back to that sort of idea of uploads, but this is specific to the ERM module here. Whether you can link it to a URI and so on. I mean, and just sort of to expand on what I was saying at the beginning, you know, this puts all of these elements that were in filing cabinets or were in Excel or were on little bits of paper round about your libraries in one place, and the sort of scope is obviously there's plenty of scope for more development, and that is really in hand in the community. With as things go forward, we'll see more and more added to this area. So I'm just going to cancel out of that. And let's have a little look at licenses. Love these little icons, nice little gavel hammer icon there. With regard to licenses, so this would be more of a place to record what you can actually do with your electronic material, that electronic contents that you've subscribed to. And here's listed here various licenses that have been added. This is a sandbox space, so obviously there's been lots of testing going on with relation to this this space. So we can see again, we've got these nice filters that would allow you to filter by active, expired, and so on in negotiation and such like. And the different types of license that you might create, all driven by authorized values as value sets as well. So you can change and create the stuff that fits comfortably for your setup. Yeah, it's probably worth mentioning this is all following the route of being able to manage what columns appear and disappear using table settings. So that's as standard. If you want to, obviously you can change columns on the fly, but it's also tied in with your table settings that's in administration. Yeah, let's move on to holdings, actually. So we've got e-holdings, and you can see it's broken into two sections. Going back to that system preference where you can choose to enable EBSCO and local holdings, we've got EBSCO and local both enabled here. And if I click through into the EBSCO packages, we can see, you know, if it's hundreds and thousands of references on EBSCO, but if I just do a search, I think if I go for journal archives again, let's just have a look at the display that we've got here. I'll just do a submit there. And now we're going out to, you can see the sort of 22,000 entries just for that particular reference. In the hashed value there, that's your EBSCO reference number. You can see the delivered, the package vendor. Obviously, that is not your Koha vendor. That's a package vendor from through EBSCO. And then you've got these little tick boxes that indicate out of that set, based on your credentials that you added in your system preference, what do you actually hold? So here I can see these just journal archives. And then if I click through into that section, we can see the package name, the type of package, the content type, and all of this is going back to, if you're using it, EBSCO, your packages and what you've actually enabled with EBSCO. And you've also got the option to see the titles as well underneath, so we can see titles listed, and the tick boxes again indicate out of that package which titles do you actually take. You've got a remove package from holding, so that's actually at the EBSCO level. If you tick the tick box there, it will actually deselect that on your as if you were an EBSCO admin. Let's pick one of these titles here. I'll just click through into this particular adolescence title. And from there, you can see the actual details specifically to that particular title. So you can see the name, the resource identifier, and so on, which package it belongs in, and the vendor, and the coverage dates. And you can see, you can remove the title from the holdings if you were no longer taking that title. The converse applies as well. So if I were to select a title that I didn't currently take with that package, I could add title to my holdings, and that works in real time. And it's 3 o'clock. Quick, we'll look at the local packages. So if I just go into local packages, obviously if you're not using, if you currently haven't got EBSCO, you might want to create your own packages with your own titles. And one of the nice things about this is, so if I just pick a package here and just go into edit it, you can create your package name, add agreements to those packages in exactly the same way. You can also create packages based on a Koha list. So say, for example, your vendor has submitted you a set of MARC records. We saw this morning how you can import MARC records onto the system using batch. You could put those MARC records in a list and then create your ERM package based on the titles that are in the list. So it sort of really makes things easy in that sense. So last slide, I have got put together, and this is ongoing in the community. So and with more development, a lot of things that can be done with this. So this is the starting point, and it's just going to sort of cascade from now. Bringing in usage information. It could be pulling in the services, certainly in the UK like JUSP. Workflow management. I don't know if any of you Coral users, it's a really nice functionality that takes you through different steps and allows you to allocate tasks. So that will be something for the future. That will be a really good feature. Obviously, support for other knowledge bases. We've got EBSCO at the moment, but we've got GoKB, KB+, JISC, from JISC, and so on. So all of that scope is something that we'll want to be looking at on the to-do list, as I say. Improve reporting, maybe an A to Z journal listing. In a way, with all these packages, the titles are sort of subsidiary because it's designed to be a back-end thing for you to manage and sort out your, get rid of your spreadsheets. But an A to Z journal listing is a really nice feature. See your titles and be able to choose them. Let's say in the OPAC. Cataloging, acquisitions, enhancements, linking to purchase orders, and improving the licenses is also on the list, as I understand it. So it's, in fact, I think some of those might be in hand. So yeah. So lots going on with the ERM, bit whistle stop. I don't even know if we'll be doing a training session on it. I mean, it's all quite nice, you know, it's all there in front of you, nice and easy to create these things. But I haven't got a slide that says any questions, but I've got 3 little dots there. That constitutes my any questions, I suppose. But I realise I've overrun a little.
Yeah, I think in the interest of time,
yeah.
We've got a Q&A session.
Oh yeah, yeah. Good. Cool.
Yeah, we're very excited about the ERM as who you are as well. And sales are excited anyway, because you get all everything. So yeah, so thank you very much, Janet.
Cool. Good.